This is a sleeping puppy to brighten up your day. Enjoy the video. What was the best moment you've seen where the real world hit a spoiled rich kid? I grew up with rich kids and still keep in touch with a few of them. One guy's father owned the most prestigious law firm in town. He said his life changed the moment he called his father from jail, the second time it happened. His father said, "Well, sorry to hear you got arrested, good luck," then hung up. He said getting locked back into his cell was the singular moment that completely turned his life around. Call me once, shame on you. Call me twice, new phone, who this? My grandfather was the same way as an attorney/father. A favorite family story is when my uncle called him from a police station on a Friday night. He was in high school at the time and got caught drinking. My grandfather answered the phone and simply asked, "What did you do?" And my uncle responds, "Nothing." "Great, tell them to let you go," hangs up the phone and goes back to sleep. Both my uncle and the police were stunned, but it being the weekend, my uncle ended up having get transferred to the county jail until Monday morning. The police from the jail called my grandfather on Monday morning and said, "You've got to pick the poor kid up." His time in jail wasn't particularly traumatic, but it taught him a pretty valuable lesson in how principled my grandfather was. Had he been honest and just admitted what he did, he wouldn't have been in that situation. I knew this rich kid from high school that went off to college and partied every single night. His parents found out that he was failing basically all of his classes, so they secretly drove up early one Saturday morning with the spare set of keys to the car they had bought him and just drove off with the car. My parents did this to me in college, but it was because they found out I was living with my boyfriend and they didn't believe in sex before marriage. I thought my car had been stolen. I guess technically it was. Somewhat distant relative spent all of his university years and 20s partying hard with the 100 to 120k allowance his rich company owning father gave him each year. He'd travel the world each year, going to Bali, Thailand, Europe, every year Oktoberfest, just rampaging. At 32 or so, he decided to settle an upscale ski resort area of the US and open a business with his hot gold digger fiancée. When he went to transfer his money to his US bank account, he noticed it only came to a few $1,000s. He angrily asked the bank worker why she hadn't transferred the entire amount, only to be told that that was the entire amount. His father had cut him off without saying anything, and he just hadn't noticed. Absolute flatline. And then, "I need more." Absolute flatline. Pretty sure he died, man. Rich guy in our college dorm thought he was untouchable cause his dad was some NFL player from the 90s and had not blown all his money yet. He would get freshman girls blackout drunk and then film himself having sex with them and then show all his buddies the next day or so. Well, one buddy was not as close as he thought and went to the RA, who then went to campus police and then real police. It was a fun night watching the parking lot fill up with the bored cops on duty that night and haul his ass out of the dorms while they went and gathered his evidence. What happened to him afterwards? Did he return to school? Never saw him after that night. This took place near the end of the week, Thursday or Friday, cause I remember going to class on Monday and his dorm was empty and being cleaned by the housekeeping staff. At one Instagram model who got caught on video talking shut to a security guard at VidCon. Not only did the guard stand his ground and not let him in because he wasn't famous enough to be given a pass and too rich to just buy one, but once the internet saw the video, the guard ended up with more followers than the kid. Classmate in college failed his course, partied for a year with dad's money, never studied, ever. Thing is, inheriting his father's construction company to quarries, a fleet of trucks and equipment depended on him manning up and passing the class. All he had to do was learn the basics of mechanical diagnostic and repair and be set for life. He just needed to pass one class. Talk about wasted opportunities. I had a roommate my freshman year of college that came from an incredibly rich oil family from the Middle East. I remember him having the hardest time adjusting to not having someone else prepare him food. I remember waking up one morning and going to the kitchen and seeing him try to eat eggs and toast he had just prepared himself. He asked me how I normally prepare fried eggs because his tasted really crunchy. Turns out he had just cracked the egg hole into the pan and prepared it shell and all. I couldn't stop laughing, but felt really bad for the dude. At least he tried. True, he was a good dude. Was an interesting semester helping him learn how to live providing for himself. Administration and faculty at a university refused a substantial offer of endowment money from a couple that wanted their son enrolled as an art major. Their son couldn't meet the minimum scholastic entrance requirements, and he had little aptitude for art. Still, with their millions, he thought money would buy his way to an easy degree as an art major. He was dumbfounded to receive a notice of non-admittance. Cries in German. Someone is gonna pay for this down the road. I knew a guy in high school who bragged that he didn't have to pay attention in school because, get this, his grandfather was a vice president of the corporation that supplied the cardboard for cereal boxes for General Mills. Real gravy train. Yeah no. Last I checked, since deleted Facebook, he was still working at Best Buy 5 years after high school, same job he had in high school. I don't think my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, would be too pleased with this. My best moment was when I got hired by a pair of Woodside, California parents to transition their horrible 18-year-old into the realities of real life, something that evaded both of them. My first action was to take away his Platinum, Limitless, credit cards. He threw a tantrum that lasted several days. Where am I going to get money? Get a job. My parents will fire you. They didn't. When he realized that boundaries and budgets had been set in stone, and that he not only had to pay the bills, the rent, but taxes too, he headed straight to college to wait out the next 4 years. He is still a little jerk, but at least he has a job and an education now. Probably on the BBC yesterday when Prince Andrew got the shit kicked out of him for an hour about his association with Epstein. One of my college roommates told his parents the trip we were planning, that they were paying for, was $400 more expensive than it was, so he could buy a really nice barn. In addition, they basically paid for everything he wanted. He had their credit card and ordered food on it at least once daily. He also would make $50 purchases off the card pretty regularly. Long story short, they found out he lied about the cost of the trip. For whatever reason they still paid and let him go, but after the trip he could not use their card anymore. This dude acted like he lived the hardest life of all time afterwards, but eventually sucked it up. He actually acts way less entitled now. It ended up having a lasting positive effect for him, even though he wouldn't admit it. While working in a casino here in Las Vegas, a herd of girls came to my window, and one proceeded to tell me about her great birthday party itinerary that her dad had paid for her 18th birthday, with no adult in the party, just a bunch of teenage girls out in Vegas, where none of them could do anything because none of them were 21. I couldn't even check them into their reservation. They start yelling and screaming at me. I calmly call security, and security tells them they can either go play in the arcade or leave and try to find a hotel off the strip that will take them in without being 21. The anger turns to tears. The security guard is unmoved. That's their parents' fault. A stupid 18th birthday gift. No joke here. Back in high school, 90s, this kid got a brand new Chevy Camaro. I had an old ass 80s Pontiac Phoenix that had the straight six. It was by far not a racing car, but this tool was just looking to brag at what he got compared to the busted cars we got. About 2 days later, while we were waiting at a stoplight, this idiot tries to race us as I'm in my car, and I pull up with my friends. He starts by revving it really loud and tries to do a burnout. Mind you, the light was red and the roads were not wet, so he managed to get a tiny burnout going. Some smoke and whatnot. When his tires did catch traction, he went barreling into the intersection and smashed the car of the wife of one of the very few cops in my small city. Needless to say, that didn't work out for him very well. At a Starbucks, and she thought apparently people gave her parents free drinks and such for her all these years. Like the cashier told her the total and she said, "Wait, I don't get it for free." She never realized her parents swiping their cards all those years was paying for her things, I guess. Middle school. A classmate is on the phone, when most of us didn't have cell phones, screaming at her stepdad, "Patrick, I need the $500. I need to buy new jeans." She did not get the $500, but she did later get to be a teen mom. So that was cool. Raise your kids and spoil your grandkids, or spoil your kids and raise your grandkids. Nothing too serious, but I taught at an international school in Africa and we would take the high school students camping 1 week out of the year. Many of these kids are not used to camping at all and have never even taken public transport. They have full-time drivers bring them to school and pick them up. Some of them are from very wealthy and politically connected families. Having to set up tents and get dirty, not be able to shower every day, and sleep on hard ground is new to them. Some of them actually love it, but others are sad pathetic wretches the entire week.